One car sold over 1 million units in its very first year. What is it? The Ford Mustang. And its story is way stranger than you'd think. Let's get into it. Ford wasn't trying to build a legendary sports car. It was trying to stop the bleeding. In the early 1960s, young American buyers were flocking to smaller, cheaper cars from Japanese and European competitors, and Ford was terrified of losing an entire generation of customers. The company was watching buying habits shift in real time. The post-war generation, now grown up and earning decent paychecks, wanted something different. Not a boring family sedan, and not an expensive sports car only the wealthy could afford. They wanted something in between. A car that felt like freedom and excitement, but at a price a regular worker could actually pay. The man who changed everything was Lee Iacocca, a young, ambitious executive who was convinced there was a massive market for an affordable sports car that still made the driver feel like a hero. Iacocca formed an internal team at Ford called the Fugitive Committee and gave them one mission: design a car with the look of a race car, the price of a regular sedan, and a mechanical base simple enough to keep production costs low. The result was a car priced under $2,500, with styling that looked like it belonged on a racetrack. It launched officially on April 17, 1965, at the New York World's Fair, with a level of media buzz nobody expected for a car at that price point. And the reaction was insane. On launch day alone, dealerships received over 22,000 orders. By the end of its first full year, Ford had sold more than 400,000 Mustangs, a number nobody predicted, not even Ford itself, forcing some factories to add extra shifts just to keep up with demand. There are two popular stories about where the name came from, and both have a compelling logic behind them. The first says it was inspired by the P-51 Mustang, the legendary World War II fighter plane that symbolized speed, power, and precision. The second, and the one more commonly cited by the designers themselves, says it was inspired by the wild American Mustang. Horse, a historic symbol of freedom and running unrestrained across the Western Plains. Ford ultimately settled on the logo that became a global icon. A galloping horse etched onto the front grille, captured mid-stride to convey speed even while the car is standing still. And more than 60 years after its first appearance, that logo has barely changed, and it still represents the brand's entire identity. The Mustang never stayed frozen in one version or one fixed design. It went through 6 full generations across decades, and each one told a different story about America itself, its economy, its culture, and even its anxieties. By the late 60s and early 70s, the Mustang lived through what became known as the horsepower wars, a fierce rivalry between American automakers to build bigger engines, louder exhausts, and faster acceleration. Chevrolet launched the Camaro as a direct competitor. Dodge launched the Challenger, and American streets became a real battleground for that rivalry. Whether on official racetracks or unofficial late-night street races, then came the 1970s oil crisis. The global fuel shortage hit every automaker without exception, forcing strict new fuel efficiency regulations. The Mustang, like other large American cars, had to shrink in size and dial back engine power to save fuel and comply with new laws. It was a rough period for the brand, and many longtime fans came to call it the sad Mustang era, because it lost a huge part of its original, powerful identity. Through the 80s and 90s, the Mustang gradually clawed its way back toward its original power and identity, with continuous improvements in aerodynamics, engine development, and rebuilding the trust of customers it had lost during that difficult decade. And from the 2000s to today, Ford went all in on returning to its classic design roots very deliberately. The current generation blends styling that echoes the legendary 1967 Mustang with full 21st century technology, massive digital displays, smart driver assist systems, and even an all-electric version that carries the family name itself, the Mustang Mach-E. A move many considered incredibly bold at the time, since it broke the long-standing rule that a Mustang had to have a combustion engine. The Mustang became famous for one thing more than anything else: the sound of its engine, specifically the V8. which became so tied to the car's identity that many enthusiasts consider any Mustang without a V8 to be missing something essential about its character. Legendary versions like the Shelby GT50 and the Boss 429 weren't just cars. They were considered true monsters on the road. Ferocious performance and acceleration that forced even luxury European sports cars to take the term American muscle car seriously in international competition. Modern versions, like the Shelby GT350 and the new GT500, push power figures past 700 horsepower using advanced supercharged engines, a number that would have been pure science fiction back in the 1960s, to the point that any engineer from that era would have dismissed the idea of a mass production car ever reaching that level of power. Very few cars have embedded themselves this deeply and this consistently into pop culture. The Mustang has appeared in hundreds of movies and TV shows over the decades, most famously in the legendary car chase scene in Bullitt, starring Steve McQueen in 1968. Still, considered one of the greatest chase scenes in film history, and sometimes even taught in film schools as a reference for shooting action sequences. It's also appeared in other major films like Gone in 60 Seconds, John Wick, and the massive Fast and Furious franchise. Even in the world of video games, the Mustang shows up constantly in popular franchises like Need for Speed and Forza, becoming a fan favorite because it combines striking looks with serious performance. At the end of the day, the Mustang isn't just a car, it became a complete symbol. A symbol of freedom, of positive rebellion, and of a simple but deeply meaningful American dream. That you could own a powerful, good-looking car at a price a regular person could actually afford, not just the wealthy elite. From a car designed primarily to save Ford from a local marketing crisis to a global icon representing speed, freedom, and positive rebellion, the Ford Mustang was never just a means of transportation. It was, and still is today, a dream you could actually achieve, not just an empty marketing slogan. And every time you spot that galloping horse on a car's grill out on the street, remember, this isn't just a regular brand logo. This is a legacy over 60 years in the making, and it's still writing new chapters with every new generation.